Read today, cleveland.com joins us for a preview of Capital Letter. It's a daily look at political news from the State House of Washington. Andrew Tobias joining me now with a look. Andrew, thanks for being here.
Sure, thanks for having me.
This has been an unusual day in the sense for Joe Biden. He is getting a lot of praise for his speech on the coronavirus. He's had two huge wins on both Super Tuesdays, and yet there's a campaign shakeup, and it has an Ohio connection.
Yeah, so Greg-Schultz, we're especially interested in him because he is a Cleveland area native, and he was replaced. They announced that today, and it's not necessarily completely surprising in that shortly after the early primary states where Biden kind of suffered some disappointing losses, he brought in a longtime advisor to basically kind of co-manage the campaign with Greg. And so this move today, it kind of appears to me that they're looking at basically campaigns up and running. He started it, and now they're looking for somebody else to actually take it through that. And now that it's basically going up the scale.
Get it across the finish line.
Yeah,
what
exactly.
is Schultz's future with the campaign?
He's staying on in a different role in an advisory capacity. I'm sure he's going to be heavily involved with helping organize coming up to the Tuesday election. So I'm sure he'll stay in the fold. But, I guess it'll be obviously in a different capacity.
Both candidates, Sanders and Biden, received some Ohio endorsements today from politicos. Who are the big names on their list?
So on the Biden side, it's the latest endorsement he's got. It's Kenny Yuko, who's a Cleveland area state senator. He's the leader of the Ohio Senate. He joins Amelia Sykes, leader of the Democratic leader in the House, to endorse Biden. On Sanders' side, I think the names are a little bit less prominent. We're interested in Mike Skindell, who's a state senator from the Cleveland area, as well as Jasmine Santana. It's the first Democratic senator that he's gotten. It's also the first Cleveland City Councilwoman that he's gotten. So basically, Biden's more or less consolidated a lot of the establishment endorsements, but we're continuing to keep an eye on it.
Still no Sherrod Brown, though. You would think that given the key endorsements that Biden has received, both from rivals and some key figures in Washington, that Brown would not be too far behind. We haven't heard from him yet.
Yeah, it's a little odd in that he knows his word carries a lot of weight, but he's basically said he's not planning on issuing an endorsement. He still hasn't. I guess maybe there'll be a late surprise, but at this point, we're not necessarily expecting a whole lot from him.
The census applications went out today by mail. This has become an even greater concern because of COVID-19 coronavirus. Is there any potential disruption, or is this the one thing that we can rely on at this point?
So there's good news about that in that it is being conducted through the mail. People can either send it back or they can even fill it out online. So there's not necessarily a person-to-person contact that's required. However, you always are going to have people who don't fill it out. The Census Bureau will send people door to door to try to get people to basically chase the paperwork. So what they've said is that they have phones, so they don't necessarily have to have somebody hand you a piece of paper, have you fill it out, and that kind of thing. But of course, we just don't know what's going to happen. There's been a lot of uncertainty that's been going on. I guess you can't assume that going door to door you're going to find people. I mean, it's been a very uncertain time, but the Census Bureau say that they've dealt with this kind of thing before and they're prepared to do it again.
I was in the store last night. There were very long lines. You couldn't find things like toilet paper, certainly not hand sanitizer. This all sort of raises a concern. Will these things go up in price? We do have some word, though, from Ohio's Attorney General that we shouldn't be worried about that.
Yeah, Dave Yost told us reporters today, and by the way, by phone, by live stream, we didn't meet with him in person. He basically said he got Ohio's 15 largest retailers, which includes names that everybody's heard of, like Target, Walmart, Meijer, and that kind of thing. They say they're going to freeze their prices voluntarily during the duration of this thing. So the concern, of course, is that they're going to suddenly be charging $20 a box for Kleenex to try to meet the increased demand. And the other interesting thing, too, is that he's gotten them to basically, they said they're going to impose a per customer limit on certain items to make sure that somebody doesn't walk out with 5 carts full of toilet paper when everybody else obviously is concerned about making sure they have staples right now.
Andrew Tobias with cleveland.com. Andrew, thank you.
Thank you.
And you can have the Capital Letter delivered to your inbox simply by going to cleveland.com/Capital Letter.